大家好，欢迎参加我们今天的活动。我们这个活动呢是用英文进行的，但是我们有中文的同声传译。所以如果你看到屏幕上有一个 QR code， 你可以扫描这个 QR code， 然后它会给你带到中文同传的网页上去，你可以同时收听。Okay, thank you. So I think most of you might know SDG6 is today our topic. So SDG stands for Sustainable Development Goals. It is a global goal, 17 global goals signed by 192 countries in the year 2015, initiated by the UN. So I think some of you might have joined our event previously. So our community is SDG Shanghai. It is a volunteer-based community started in May 2019. And our vision is to raise awareness of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and take further steps to encourage individuals to take actions, small actions in real life. So far we have seen great outcomes. For example, one great example is that today this event you are seeing right now are organized by all our volunteers. So joined by us today we have Karam, Rajan, Yang, Aijin, and of course Samuel and Stefan, who are our Chinese interpreters who are working really hard as well at this moment. So thank you guys all. Thank you everyone for making this happen. This is a really exciting moment for us. And we used to have offline events. Some of you might join it before, as you can see in the picture. And right now, after the COVID-19, we have been starting to hold online events, and more will come later. So thank you all for joining us. And so I would like to remind you that a recorded version will be available after this session, and we also have an online live on YouTube. And so if you wish to share with your friends over there, because I believe we are full in registration. We have 100 people registered for this event. So maybe your friends couldn't join us, but I'm sure they can watch us. They can watch us online on YouTube as well. And we would love to hear from you. So if you have any questions for our panelists or for our team members, you're very welcome to put them down in the Q&A session and also in the chat box. And so for those who have just joined us, welcome. And I'd like to remind you that we have a Chinese interpretation option. 大家如果刚刚加入我们的话，你可以扫描屏幕上的二维码来收听中文同传。Okay, so right now I'm going to pass my time to Rajan, who will be the moderator of the panel discussion. Thank you, Rajan.
Thank you, Mu, for the introduction of what we do and introducing everybody. Hello, everybody. I'm Rajan, and I will be facilitating the panel discussion today. So as you've probably seen from our poster, we have two really great speakers today. Our first speaker is Xiu Yuan. She is the environmental specialist of the at the Global Green Growth Center of the IFF, and she was previously the former UN gender consultant. So firstly, we'll hear from Xiu Yuan, and then after Xiu Yuan, we will hear from Moonlight. If you do have any questions for our speakers, please write them in our comments, like Mu has just said. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Xiu Yuan to introduce her topic.
Okay, great. Thank you guys for having me here. And it's my great pleasure to join you and just to share what I learned and what my experience is as an environment specialist. And today my presentation just to focus on the SDG6, which you probably know it is the Sustainable Development Goal 6, which is about the clean water and sanitation. Okay, so yeah, next slide, please. So I was told that there are only 7 minutes for this presentation, so I will give you a brief introduction. And so for this content, it will have several topics. The first one is what are the challenges we are facing for the water? And for the second one is what are actually is the SDG6? Oh, no, the Sustainable Development Goals. And then what is the SDG6? And the next one is what are the efforts done by UN to achieve the SDG6? And the next one is what are the information sources about the SDG6? And also, please remind me if I use longer time because I wanted to keep the track of the time. Okay, so next slide, please. So now, what are the challenges? Next slide, please. Yeah. What are the challenges we are facing for water? So the first one is the water and the climate change. As you probably already realized that the climate is becoming more and more abnormal. And in Africa, probably there are more droughts happen. And in some areas there are more flooding happens. And yeah, next slide, please. Next slide. Actually, Rajan, you can just keep clicking this one because there have several pictures, and each time you click, and there will be a different picture. Okay, great. So the next one is, yeah, the water and the disaster. As you probably already know that when we have a flooding, that not only the sanitation will be polluted, but also that will have a huge impact, for example, for the infrastructure and the loss of life. People will pass away and animals pass away, and that will also destroy the agriculture production, something like that. And then for the third one, next slide, please. And then the challenges we are facing for water is the link between the water and the ecosystem. Next slide, please. Okay, I will just keep going. And Rajan, please, next slide. Thank you so much. Okay, so the water and the ecosystem mitigate the effects of floods and droughts. And the resources embedded in wastewater, including the valuable water, the nutrient, and organic carbon, can be used for the ecosystem rejuvenation in appropriate circulation, enhancing the ecosystem services. So once we don't have enough water, and the ecosystem, they don't have also, well, you can imagine that the ecosystem is just like the human body. And when we don't have enough water, that our body just cannot have a normal metabolism. So the ecosystem is also the same thing. And then the next challenge is water and financing. So the issue is almost all people knows that the water is important, and we need to focus to solve the sanitation and water. But the issue is we need to have more money, or we need to have more financing and investment to put in the water sector. And that is one of the problem, is in many areas, we probably don't have those enough, the investment to improve the water facilities and something else. And then the next topic is really something in my heart, which is the challenge between the water and the gender. Well, I think as people live in China, or live in most part of China, or in a good environment, we probably even cannot experience that the access to water is really a privilege. I will tell you a story that just imagine somewhere in Africa or somewhere in a very dry area in Asia, that a girl or a woman, because normally it is the women or the girl to take care of the family. And in the morning, they just wake up and they need to travel miles away, just get one bucket of clean water and come back. and that will probably take them 5 to 6 hours. Just imagine they can use those hours, or they can use those time to learn and to work to increase their value, but because of the lack of water, they don't have the privilege even to do that. Okay, so the next challenge is water and human rights. Well, actually, the water rights is the human rights. In most of the drought area, that people can, before I working for the UN, I never thought that one world or one region or one area, they will become more risky just because of the lack of water. So the challenge is also the water and the human rights. And then the next challenge is the water quality and the waste of water. As we already know that the amount of water is already very, it's not a lot, but in those small amount of water, part of them are polluted, which means they cannot be drank, or if people drink it, they will pass away. So the water quality is also another big challenge. So the eighth one is the water scarcity. I mentioned that before at the beginning, which is the water and the climate change, which is once we really experience more climate change, in some region that the water scarcity is accelerating. For example, in Africa, I guess it's in the Sahara area, the water amount is actually decreasing dramatically because of the climate change. And because of the lack of the water, and then the crop production actually decreased dramatically. And that will incur a lot of issues. And then the last one, I guess it's the last one. No, it's the ninth one. Yeah, the transboundary waters. So for example, in China and Vietnam, we probably have some issues for a river, and that is also the challenge. Okay, and then the 10th one is the water and the urbanization. Well, in a big city, we do have a lot of issues to deliver fairly for all the water, and how to manipulate and how to organize the water to the industry or to the human or to the agriculture. It is also a challenge. And then the last one, and the 11th one is the water, food, and energy, which is a nexus. Well, you can imagine, because the food need the water to plant, to nutrient them. And if we don't have enough water, which means we don't have enough food. And if we don't have enough food, we don't have a lot of energy, not only for ourselves, but also for automobiles and something else. And then the 12th one is the water, sanitation, and hygiene. So the benefits of having access to and improve the drinking water sources can only be fully realized when there is also access to improved sanitation and adherence to good hygiene practice. So if we don't have a lot of water, then we can imagine that the level of sanitation and hygiene could not be good also. And so now you guys already have a very basic idea about all the 12 challenges of water that we are facing at. And now that's why that the UN system is creating this SDG, which is the Sustainable Development Goals. And the 6th one is specifically for the water. And now, sorry, Rajan, how many minutes I still have?
You've got maybe 2 minutes left before I ask
some
recording questions.
Okay, yeah, 2 minutes is enough. Okay, so now I would like to explore a different sector or a different region, which is to introduce how the UN system that we work together to tackle the issue of water resources. So before I introducing that, I would like to give you a general knowledge about the UN system. So UN, the United Nations, is just a system. And in this whole system, we have more than 60 entities. So you probably heard the WHO, the UN Environment Program, the UN Development Program, and the UN Women. All of them are the UN entities, which each one of them have their own focus of work. So how these 60 entities working together when we talk about the water? I will give you an example. So for example, the UN Environment Program, which I work as an intern before, which is they focus more on the connections between the water and the environment. So they will talk about, well, they develop the policy, which focus specifically about how to say that, how the water that can increase the ecosystem and how the water can actually have more benefit for the human that living in a good environment. Well, just briefly, so UN Environment, when they work on the water, they put more focus on the connections between water issues and the environment issues. And then I will give you an example about the UN Women, which I also got privileged to work as a consultant. When we work for the water as a UN Women, we talk about how this water can actually benefit the empowerment of women. So for example, we will help the women in Africa and teach them how to get the water more efficiently. So they will have more time to work, they will have more time to study, something like that. I'll give you another example, which is the UNICEF, which is the UN United Nations Child Fund. What they really do is they will deliver clean water specifically to the children and also to the women. And they will also, because the UNICEF is a really large and a powerful entity, so they have well, a lot of ability or capacity to do other policy, something like that. And yeah, and for the FAO, which is the Food Agriculture Organization, well, FAO is specifically for the agriculture or for the food, and what they really focus on is how they can use the water more efficiently to increase the crop production, something like that. And isn't that amazing? That once we talk about the clean water, well, you can imagine that everybody, every time, even every hour, we need to drink water and we need to eat the food, which actually comes, also part of them comes from the water. And when we try to tackle the tackle the water resources issues, all the UN system, they work together to tackle this fabulous topic through different perspectives. So yeah, that is what I learned. And if you click to the next slide, yeah, Regin, if you click to the next slide, you can see that, yeah, next slide, which is what are the effort done by UN? Yeah, next slide, please. What are the effort done by the UN to achieve the SDG6? And all the logos that you see, all of them done amazing work about water. It's just from different perspectives. And for this slide, if you want to see more about the SDG6, specifically from a UN perspective, this is the sources for you. Yep, and that's my presentation.
So actually, you spent quite a bit of time in the UN, which is quite fascinating organization, actually. So I'm intrigued.
It is.
You touched upon gender inequality, and I'm intrigued how your role at the UN dealt with gender inequality as well as water and climate change. So could you tell us how these areas relate when you were there in the UN? Could you give us any specific examples?
Yes, good. Thanks for the question. So the project that I worked for when I was in UN Women is to develop a system or develop an accountable framework, which is to hold the water authority accountable in terms of the gender equality. So that project is a little bit technical, so I will explain a little bit about that. So we developed 17 indicators to quantify the process of gender equality in the water authorities. So for example, how many resources this water authority will contribute to the gender equality each year. And for example, how many leaders are women in their leadership. So all of this are done in the water authority. So for example, the Water Ministry of China and some similar organizations in the United States, something like that. Because we think that if we wanted to tackle the gender equality in the water sector, we need to, we need to analyze the mechanism in the water authority. So for example, how the women's voice can be heard when they make the decisions about how this water will be contributed, how this water will be distributed, something like that. Well, that is just one small part or one perspective when we talk about the gender equality and women, about gender equality and water resources. And another perspective, which is really to help the women get the access to the clean water, which is done significantly by UNICEF. So UNICEF, so for example, in one region in Africa, they just don't have enough water, and they will just transport vast amount of water bottles to that region, and they will feed those people with the clean water. And once they got the clean water, the women don't have to travel miles away to get the water, and the children, they can spend more time to study. Yeah.
I think this is actually quite important. It actually gives women time to study and education, as in these areas where water scarcity is high. Actually, it is the women who are taking the time to get the water and source the water.
Yes, exactly. And well, you can imagine that your mom, right? My mom, they spend so many time to take care of the family, right? It's just in those regions that they lack of water. It has, well, most of the cases, it will be the women to go miles away to fetch the water. And the most freezing thing is they will probably get raped, they will get harmed during the journey to get the water. So yeah, to be honest, I never realized that before I working for the UN. And after, yeah, that's also one thing that I would like to share with all the audiences, which is that's also my own story. I did my PhD. My background is about the influence of climate change on the water resources. Actually, at the final stage of my PhD, I was a little bit lost because I don't know how my PhD research that can really help people or have a big influence to this world. And then I got the opportunity to intern in the UNEP, and I was involved in a very also amazing cooperation between UN Environment, UNDP, and the DPPA. The project name is the Climate Security Mechanism, which is to analyze how the influence of climate change actually really make the country or make the region more risky. That is the first time I realized, wow, my research is something that this world really needs, because we really need to know how the physical influence of climate change, and then we can get the idea about the scale or influence. We can quantify the scale of the climate change to one region, and then we can break down this influence to different group of people. So for example, what is the influence of climate change to farmers? What is the influence of climate change to the women? And specifically for women, what exactly are the influences for them? Does that mean the women will take more time to get more water? Does that mean the women, they don't have more food to eat? Or does that mean women are more vulnerable under the climate change? Because I would like to share this story. Is just want to see that the working experience that in the UN system is kind of like upscale my level, or make me to see a bigger world. That is very helpful to help me to identify my role, and that have a big influence for my forthcoming career.
Thank you, Xiaoyu. And actually, we've just run out of time, but we're going to come back to you after Moonlight's presentation, because we have a few questions from our audience, including Daniel. But before I get to audience questions, I would like to introduce Moonlight. So we've seen on a broader scale globally how the UN and SDG objectives, especially water, is affecting and the world globally. So now I just want to go on a micro scale, and specifically Moonlight, who is actually works for My H2O, which is a water organization here in China. So without further ado, Moonlight, could you please give us an introduction into what H2O does?
Yes, sure. Thanks. Oh, can you guys hear me?
Feel free to share your presentation.
Okay. Hold on. Give me one sec. Right. So thank you for having me here, and it's a great honor to be here and share what I know and what do we do here in China as an NGO that focuses on the water quality, especially in rural area. So before I start my presentation, I just want to double check that you guys can see my screen fine. Is it working? Oh. It says my my share screen is paused by someone.
Okay.
Is it working?
It's not at the moment.
Oh, okay.
Karen, can you see?
No, I cannot see, but maybe Rajan, you can share, and Moonlight, you can ask Rajan to go to the next slides.
Is it working now?
No problem. I will do it, Moonlight.
Okay, sure. Thanks. Sorry about that. Right. Okay.
Okay, no problem, Moonlight. I have your.
Great that we have you. That we have the plan B. Yeah, it's so important to have plan B.
So Moonlight, we can see the presentation. Feel free to continue.
Oh, okay, great. Because I cannot see it. it might be my Wi-Fi. It's probably too slow. It's probably loading. Okay, great. Now it's yeah, I see the screen now. Okay, so hi everyone. Yeah, I see the screen. Let's just go back to the front page. All right, so hello everyone. So my name is Moonlight, and it's a great honor to be here, and I'd like to talk a little bit about the organization that I work with and what we do on the water quality and to solve the drinking water problem in rural China. Okay, so next page, please. So a little bit about myself. I actually graduated from Pittsburgh College in California, and I majored in international relations and media studies. And I've done a lot volunteer works when I studied in the U.S. and when I get back to China, I want to do some work for China, and also when I was really little, I go back to my hometown a lot, which is in like a small rural village in Hebei, actually in Tianjin province, in Tianjin, and we have like a really big issue with the drinking water, and we don't have the water like 24/7 like what we have in big cities now, and the water tastes funny, and I sometimes I just hate to go back to my hometown just because of the taste of water. So it's really a big problem. So now I'm working at my H2O. It is an NGO that focuses on the water quality in rural China, and I work as a project manager and also the communication manager. So if you guys, I'm not sure whether you guys know this data, there's like over 300 million residents in the rural China area that suffering from like water, like all kinds of and different kinds of water problem. So all those 300 million people, they do not have access to drinking, to clean drinking water. And that is the issue or the situation that we're facing to at the moment. Next page, please. And on this one, you can see a couple of pictures of the situation, the real situations in the villages in rural area. And so for them, like clean water is like it is a real luxury, and it is really hard for them to get the clean water. So next page, please. And this is why we found this organization, Match2O, in 2015. So the STAR team is actually a group of girl geeks. Next page, please. And we studied and we travel across the world, and we do want to go back to our hometown and make some change, and that is why we started this organization, all the projects. So next page, please. Right. So this organization is we aim to diagnose water problem on a case-by-case basis, and with the goal to bring data-driven clean water solution to the underprivileged communities in need, and to improve their overall health by giving them better quality drinking water. Next page, please. Okay, so here's just a brief slide on the awards that we've gotten already. So this first one is the one that Shuan mentioned earlier about this Young Champions Regional Finalists in 2020. And next page, please. This is just the awards we have, and all of those are based on the works that we've done and the goal that we do want to improve the drinking water quality in China and to improve the overall health. So this is our model and how we work and how we solve the problem. So first of all, we do find those village, what we call this village opinion leaders. And it's kind of a KOL, but here we're looking for the voices. We want to hear the voices from the village. So those people are people who notice the problems of drinking water, and it's either their hometown or where they are living at the moment, and they do want to raise awareness of the problem and to let more people know the situation, know the problem at where we're living. And they would love to share the stories, to share the voice, and to share the problems with others, so that more people and more resources can go to this specific village. And those people are the ones we call the VOLs. Next page, please. So after we found those VOLs, we'll do we will do the field diagnosis. So basically, what we do is that during most of the time during the summer and winter and the winter break, we'll find the student teams from universities across China, and we carry out all those field works and to figure out, okay, what are the real issues in those villages that we're going to. Okay, next one. So basically, during this field trip, for this field study, next page, please. What we do is that we talk to the residents. We collect the water samples and we do the water sample testings, and to see what the real problems are. And after that, we will analyze all those data and put those data on our own map. So this is the map that we're trying to create, or well, actually we do have the 1.0 version of this map at the moment. And if you guys search on WeChat, putting my H2O map, and you'll find this map. So on this map, we'll show the data that we collect from the villages that we've been to, and we'll show the stories, we'll show the pictures, and we want to create this map, or to create this this hub for everybody, and to for them to find the data or learn the real situation of drinking water at the village or at the areas that they really care about. So this is why we're doing this map, and this is why we go out to all those villages. So at the early years that we only focus on those field trips, we know the issues, we know the problems, but the next problem is, well, or the biggest problem is for us will be so once we know the problem, how do we solve it? What can we do to help those villagers to get better quality water? And this is what we do next. So next page, please. So after we find the problems, where we diagnose the real problems, we will do the solution. We'll design a solution for the specific village, and we will do the connection of the solution. And we will look for the solution sponsors. Usually they could be foundations, or they could be corporates, or they could be a person who's really interested in this specific village or the issue, and they would love to fund us, to either fund us or to get us connected to other resources who are able to provide support or to provide solution. This is what we do next. So the next page, please.
Hi, Moon. So I kind of want to get onto audience questions. So maybe in a minute, you could try and just wrap your part up, and then we have some questions which are actually relevant to to your organization. So yeah.
Right. So next page, please. I'm about to share a real case of what we do and how we find problems and solve the problem. So next page, please. And maybe next 2 pages. Right. So this is our model of what we do. And next page, please. So this case I'm about to share with you guys is a real case that we've done actually this year in August. This is in the Hebei province, a small village. There's about like a 1,400 local villagers. Next page, please. So we actually got a call from a local organization in this village, and they want us to be there and to do a water diagnosis and see whether we'll be able to help them. So once we get there, and after all the talks and the interviews, we find that the main sources of the water is actually pumped from 400 meters down underground, and their water supply systems has been worn out through years due to the lack of maintenance. And the water, because of the economic issue, the water is they only use water like in the morning for 2 hours, like every single day. There's 2 hours of water, And in the other time, like the villagers have to use their own like storage to serve this water. And also there are a couple like factories within really close distance from this village, so people really fear of the pollution from the factories. So after all the interviews and water sampling, we found that there are too many scuttles and floating objects in the water, and the turbidity of the water and the TDS really exceeds the standards. So that's the problems we're trying to solve. Next page, please. And what we do is that we connected to one of our. Okay, so here are some pictures for you guys. And what we do is that we connected to this solution sponsor, and they're willing to fund us and to get a to build a the H2O water station in this village. Next page, please. Right. And this water station will be able to solve all those problems and to bring like a better quality water. And so on top of that, we also set up a water storage to solve the to maintain the stable water supply, just in case that they don't have enough water supply for this machine. And we also designed this operate and transfer plan, which is basically the plan to make the solution sustainable in this village. And we will let the local people run the station, and the managed tool is only in charge of the overall management and long-term evaluation. If the village or the locals will be able to keep a break even and to keep this maintenance really well, and the station would be here for a long time, well, the managed tool will let them gain the ownership of the station. And on top of that, we also really value the awareness and also the education of the local people, because sometimes the local people it's not the materials that they don't have, or the water solution that they don't have. It just they don't have the idea, or they don't know that they are facing to a water quality problem. And that's why we develop all those classes along with the water station or other types of solution. We want to make sure that the people or the residents, they know what they're facing to, and then they know the potential challenge or the problems they're facing to. So next page, please.
So Moonlight, we're just running out of time, and we have a few audience questions which I would like to ask both you and Xiao Yuan. One question is from Daniel. So he asks, have either of you come across any companies in China or Asia that are treating water as a precious asset rather than simply a cost? So I think what Daniel is trying to get here, he also asks if you know of any NGO, some business government and NGO enterprise which have been working together to create initiatives. Do you know of any others which have created like a cross-sector initiative? That goes to both of you, by the way. If not, then I can.
Right. So talking, I guess I'll pick up this question and I'll do it this way. So talking about the companies or the corporates, what we usually see in this organization is that there are some corporates that they really value the water quality. Either they're doing something or they're doing business with water or no, and they would love to put more time or effort or money into the solution of the water problems. And we also have a lot of the what we call the solution sponsors who are willing to do all those to do all those efforts to work with us and to solve the problems. And this is what we see during our work.
It's very interesting, Moonlight. I also actually have a gender equality question, if I can. This is from Sarah. She asks, sorry, not Sarah.
Susan.
Susan, sorry.
Yeah.
So Susan asks, on water and gender, I wonder, how does the UN decide which projects should be developed or prioritized? So do they base the decision on published research, or are they working with other organizations based on local NGOs or national governments?
Okay, yeah, thanks for the question. So, well, I think for the UN system, now we have several topics that we really prioritize, and the climate change and the gender equality are two of the 4 priorities. And when we talk about, and then when we talk about how to prioritize specifically the gender equality and the water, I think that really depends on. So, so for each country that will accept the assistance from the United Nations, they have a document called the UNDAF, which is the United Nations Assistance Development Framework, and all the countries will write down which topic they would like to focus on. And some country will say, hey, we would like to focus on this part. And some countries say, hey, we would like to focus on other things. And for each UN entity, they have their own mechanism to prioritize this thing. But from my experience, that we firstly analyze the UN system framework to see which country they focus on the gender and the water. So which means they have the demand. And then for this, for this country that they have this demand, and then we will focus on which region that they really have, they have a strong need. So for example, in Saudi Arabia, in one province of the Saudi Arabia, and we will analyze, we will also work with the country team of UN Women in Saudi Arabia, and we will get the data from them. And once we got the data, we will discuss with other working streams and to see how to solve the gender and the water efficiently. So which means we cannot prioritize things. And normally we work with other entities, we work with other work streams to really settle down, hey, this is the one that we can figure it out. Yeah.
Thank you, Shoyuan. I have one last question.
You're
And I
welcome.
want to ask you both your small actions that you advise us and the audience to take. So actually, this is directed at you, I think. So this is from Yanan Ma. He asks, how do you select which community to work with? What is the decision driver? And have you worked with local government to use their data or information that you collect, or some other collaborations with local agencies? Could you maybe take a minute or two to answer that?
Sure, yeah. Thanks for the question. I'll do a quick answer on this one. So we do have a couple bars to when we talking about the communities. And first of all, we need to make sure that they are real problems that this community is facing too. So usually we do interviews and we do water tests. And after that, we want to see whether the local people and especially the local government whether they're in support with this idea of solve the problem or no, because oftentimes the villagers or the local residents, they would love to have some support to be in their village, but the local government would say no for a variety of reasons. And that will connect to your the second part of the question, the local government. So basically, or I would like to say, in 80% of our the cases where we solve the problems, we will have to work with local government. And first of all, we need to get their approval to be in the village, and to be able to do all this to be able to implement all those equipment and so on. And secondly, we need to make sure and those local government would help us to keep an eye on those solutions, and to make sure it won't just go, this effort won't just go like a waste after a couple months or even years. So this is about the local government part. And do I have enough time for the last part of this?
Actually, I wanted to ask you both a quick question. Because we are Small Actions Matter, we always ask our panelists what small actions they advise our participants and us as well. So this is to both of you. So what small actions can we take to ensure the availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all?
Yeah, you first, Moonlight.
Okay,
Maybe.
I'll go first. Right. So one or a couple little things that you could do is first of all, that you can be a volunteer. It's either at an organization that you really like, or it could be at a specific event that you're really interested in, such as this one. And you will have some experience, and you will learn more about the issue or the field that you're interested in. And second of all, if you don't have enough time, you can consider to do some donations. And there are a couple like donation platforms in China, like Tengxun Gongyi or Ali Gongyi, things like this, and you can find programs you're interested in on those platforms. And I would also encourage people to, I would say, to do less waste in general, because especially the waste or the daily using this that contains chemical stuff in it, it will all go back to water in the end. So just really be aware whenever you buy stuff, you use stuff, especially those cleanings and antibacterial stuff like this. Yeah.
Thank you, Moonlight. And Xiao Yuan?
Yeah, well, similar things like just the Moonlight talk about. I think the small actions really matters. And well, in the morning that you can use less water to brush your teeth, and even when you brush your teeth, just close the tap water. And then during the noon that you can just well, if you see some running tap water, just help to close the tap water. And in the evening, when you take a shower, just take a shorter time. Yeah, take a shorter amount of time, because I realized that well, probably for some girls, that when we wash, well, it's kind of like wash our hands, that then we just allow the water to goes on and on. But around this time, just remember to close the tap, and then you cannot imagine how much water you can save from your daily life. And that is my suggestion. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Xiao Yuan. Thank you so much, Moonlight. So I'm going to pass to Yang. Remember that we're going to be sharing our short advice and our small actions on our social media. So thank you so much, Moonlight and Xiao Yuan. I'm going to pass to Yang now.
Oh, okay. I will share my screen. So thank you for our panelists. It's amazing panel discussion, and I will just give the small actions part. So like what Xiao Yuan suggests, you can turn off the tap when you're brushing your teeth, or while you are soaking in the shower, because it's it's just gonna save a lot of clean water. and it's very precious resources. Yeah. Okay. So the second small actions we suggest is to bring your own water bottle or take your consumed water bottle with you, because normally when there's a conference or there's big event, there's a lot of consumed water, bottled water, and normally there's a lot of water just used hot, just to be used by half of them. So it's also a lot of waste of water, and these are drinking water even more pressure than the clean water, the tap water. So the third suggestion is to boil your tap water before drinking. This is for the safe drinking issue. So through urban pipe network, many cities around the world deliver clean water containing calcium, magnesium, and chlorine. So if you boil your tap water, these chemicals can goes away and will not go into your body when you're drinking it. And next is never flash toxic chemicals and waste, such as pens, chemicals, medication. It will pollute lakes and rivers and causes health problems in marine life and human. So as I understand that the chemicals go, normally the chemicals goes to industry, wastewater treatment plant, and the urban wastewater goes to goes to urban wastewater treatment plant. So these are two different wastewater treatment plant. They use different treatment process, and if you if you flash some toxic chemicals, maybe this will not be eradicated and just goes into the nature. And next is to reuse bath water and the water for wash vegetables, or even the laundry water. They are called grey water, and you can reuse it for flush your toilet, and so it's kind of way to reuse your grey water and make it more efficient. Next slides. So the small actions suggest just based on 3R principle. It's reuse, reduce, and recycle. And that's the small actions suggested by us today. Thank you, Rajan. And Mu.
Thank you, Yang. Thank you for sharing. So thank you everyone for joining our session today. So we are finishing our session very soon. So I hope you enjoyed this session. I definitely learned a lot from our colleagues and from our panelists. So I would like to introduce you that our next event will be about SDG2, which is zero hunger. This is a very important topic, of course. So if you have anything to contribute to this topic, feel free to contact us. We're always very, very happy to hear from our audience. And honestly, like all our content are contributed to our volunteers and audience. So if you haven't followed us on social medias, you can find this QR code on the corner. It is our WeChat account. So there you can reach out to Yang. And also we have Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. On Facebook and Instagram, you can reach out to Aijin, and LinkedIn, you can reach out to Raja. So, and please feel free to tag us on any social media about your small actions, and also any articles that you find interesting. And if you reach out to us, and you can also be joined to our WeChat group, which is a really, really active community as well. We have about 300 people there, and we share about our insights and things that we read about, or small actions, of course. So I would like to remind you that at the end of the session, you will be receiving a survey from us. So we would really appreciate it if you can fill it out. We would love to hear what you think about our work and your suggestions, and of course, anything you would like to tell us. So that will be all. Thank you everyone for joining us. If you would like to stay here longer for more questions or how to reach out to us separately, feel free to stay here for a little bit longer.